Hey, Rebel Bankers, this is your host, Chris Noggle, and welcome to the show. I am so excited. I'm here today with Matt Aitchison from Rich Life Academy, and we're going to talk a little bit about how he got started, some of the obstacles he overcame, his first few deals, and a lot more. So you guys all need to get started with your journey to becoming a Rebel Banker. So I want to make sure you have the best shot at doing that. So grab a copy of the book, The Private Money Guide. That's a great first step. But also check us out at chrisnoggle.com for future events and everything else that we've got going on. But let's jump right into this. So Matt, welcome to the Real Estate Money School. Very excited to have you here. And I want everybody to know a little bit about you, about where your business is today, and kind of what are you doing? How's it all looking right now?
Well, Chris, brother, first and foremost, man, it's great to be on the show with you, and always fun having conversations that involve impacting other people and hopefully adding a little nugget or an aha or tweak or a tool or strategy that might impact somebody's future moving forward, as I know you do on a weekly basis with your show. For those that don't know, who I am, my name is Matt Aitchison. I'm a real estate entrepreneur here in Northern California. So my hub is in downtown Sacramento, but I invest all the way from Sacramento to Silicon Valley. So I'm in somewhat of a very unique market of real estate investing. I mean, we got tech country, Silicon Valley. So there are some astronomical prices, some astronomical demand in our market. And it's been a pretty wild ride over the last, 10 years that I've been investing out here. But it really started right out of college when I was working for, if I were to rewind a little bit further, I got expelled from high school, and a lot of people had basically said, this dude's, he's not headed for anywhere promising. And to be completely honest, I was proving everybody right for a good portion of my life. And I got arrested in college for the exact same thing I got expelled from high school for. And so who would have thought lightning strikes twice? I learned that the hard way. But I was actually facing some felony time in prison. I remember looking to my left and looking to my right and seeing the people that were around me. And that was my, what I call my oh shit moment of, the fork in the road going, I'm either going to go this direction and my life's going to look this way, or I'm going to do everything in my power to take this different path and course correct. And I ended up getting a job as a cold caller, working as a CSR for this insurance company in downtown Santa Barbara, which is where I was going to school at the time. And after 3 years of pounding the phones for this guy while I was going through college, and really working my way up to be his right-hand man as kind of his lead executive assistant, or whatever you want to call that individual that basically does a lot of the stuff he didn't want to do on a daily basis. He had asked me if I wanted to take over his book of business. And I remember seeing both of my parents basically work in corporate America for their entire careers, overworked, underpaid, underappreciated. And I did not want to own a job. I just didn't want to own a job. So I created a kind of a career hit list before I was graduating from college. And I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted kind of that freedom, that flexibility, that sexiness of being able to determine my own destiny and fate moving forward. I wanted no ceiling on what I could make financially, right? I wanted that unlimited earning potential. I wanted to help people achieve their goals. I wanted the sexiness of lifestyle and travel, but at the same time, I wanted to be in a space that really allowed me to create wealth while doing all of those things. And I couldn't find a ton of different industries that, outside of collecting a paycheck or becoming rich and earning a good, financial salary or income, at the same time, you were doing that to generate something wealth based, right? And I kept coming back to real estate. And I was, I graduated with a very expensive piece of paper that I was probably never going to use and actually have never used. And I was looking for jobs on Craigslist and any, Indeed, Monster, any website that I could think of. And I ended up seeing $30,000 to $40,000 jobs like all day long. And that was just depressing to me. And I came across a Craigslist ad that basically said, come get your real estate license and you have unlimited earning potential and blah, 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 blah. So long story short, I ended up getting my real estate license, and I ended up kind of menteeing for the broker of this office for about 10 months, no paycheck, no money. But the price of the education is what put me on the path that led me to building my real estate team. We were Wall Street Journal top 1,000 real estate teams 2 years back to back within 5 years. And I was 25 at the time. I had also started flipping homes. So I've done over 170 flips over the last 6 or so years, all using none of my own money, using other people's money. I've built a multi-7-figure rental portfolio using the same exact strategies to flip houses that I do to hold houses, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about today. And really just the life that I had always envisioned for myself. Early on in my life, I was really good at talking the talk, but not necessarily walking the walk. My video or the actions, my life scene of how it was playing out was not really aligned with the audio and what I was telling everybody. And when I found this path of real estate and personal development and really committed to it at an obsessive level, I started to see not only, accolades and milestones and achievements get unlocked, but more importantly, I started to learn more about who I was internally. And entrepreneurship, real estate entrepreneurship has been the greatest self-discovery journey that I could have ever asked for. And that's led me to getting to talk with people like you and teach on stages all around the country and, be able to impact and empower other people to take that same step or direction for themselves in their own life. If that's something that they see the vehicle of real estate investing being able to do for them.
That's incredible. So I love the story, and I love one thing. I took a lot out of that, but I'm going to focus in on one thing. Early on, when things weren't going good in your life and you were down the path, and actually you went pretty far down that path, landing yourself in jail. But yep. When you were doing that, people were probably the naysayers saying, oh, you're never going to amount to anything, just like you mentioned. At what point, when you were successful, did those people come back into your life, and how did you handle that? Because that's a big mindset thing for a lot of people. And I know that has nothing to do with money, but it really has everything to do with your start, your journey, and how this business really happens. People always stand in your way. I know they did in mine, and it sounds like they did in yours. So what happened? Like, you went down that path that maybe most people would have never came back from, and now you've turned it around into a multi-7-figure, just your rental portfolio and hundreds of flips. Like, what about those people that were in the beginning that were not on your side, that weren't supporting, that were the naysayers? What happened with them?
They got cut. That's the easy answer, right? And it's a hard execution. It's an easy answer, right? And I remember, when people ask me like, hey, how do you audit, your life, and how do you audit the people that, should or shouldn't be around you? Right. And the easy answer is, if you're watching this video, right, or if you're just listening to what I'm saying, is literally getting a piece of paper and you draw a line down the center of that piece of paper. And on the left side gets a plus sign, and on the right side gets a minus sign. And I started thinking about all of the people that I was spending my time with consistently on a daily basis. And the plus side was the people who added value, that lifted me up, that inspired me, motivated me, supported me at a really high level. And outside of my mom and my dad, right, and then my girlfriend at the time, pretty much every other person was a distraction, was a naysayer, was a hater, was a this, was a that, right? That ultimately pulled me down away from the person that I knew I was capable of becoming, right? And putting it all on them is like, they're the reason why I'm not successful. That was a victim mentality. And yet I knew that I needed to audit my peer group and what that looked like. And that was a really, really hard transition. And it was the best thing that I ever did for myself at that point in my life. So anybody that's listening going, whether it's your mom, your dad, your sister or brother, your girlfriend, a spouse, a best friend, if you don't have the buy-in of the people that you need the buy-in from to support your dreams and to pull you and push you in the direction that you want to go, it's going to be a really long, difficult, and hard road. And I remember one of my first mentors said, if you want to become a millionaire, go surround yourself with 9 other millionaires, and you'll be in the conversations of millionaires. You'll be in the opportunities of millionaires. You'll be around the disciplines and the habits and the beliefs of millionaires. And eventually you'll adopt that and become that. And at that time in my life, I was hanging around 9 other pot smokers, 9 other drinkers and partiers, 9 other negative individuals and gossipers. And I was the 10th person that adopted and did all of those same things as well. And so when I started kind of making that declaration to myself, it's one of those things where your circle is going to have to get a lot smaller before it can get a lot bigger, right? And it's one of those things where you are who you attract, and you attract who you are, kind of thing. And so I realized that I was not whole, and I was not the things that I wanted to be and what I wanted to invite into my life. And so that was a challenge, right? As I knew where I was at, I knew where I wanted to be, and I knew that I needed to attack the gap every single day with reading the right books, surrounding myself with the right people, going to the right meetups, education, right? Accountability, goal setting, coaching, all of the things that really kind of started as they got put in play, sequentially started fusing together to give me a path and actually seeing how I could get to where I wanted to go. And obviously that path changes and evolves and grows. But the number one domino really was obviously outside of myself. Externally, I needed to change my peer group and who I was surrounding myself with and who I was engaging with. And it wasn't one of those things where it's like, hey guys, you're not my friends anymore. Like, can't hang out with you. Right. But it was knowing when to engage with those individuals, when to plug into those environments. And there was definitely some purging that happened at that point in my life.
Look, one thing you said, your circle is going to get smaller before it gets bigger. That is huge. And it's like you said, that's easy to say, not easy to do, because I know my story is very similar. Like, I used to think the more friends I had, the more people I was around, the more popular I was, the better I'm going to be. But
Yep.
I was the same way. I was surrounding myself around people that just couldn't get out of their own mind, that were always broke, were always, complaining that it's everybody else's fault. And you nailed it. Until you put those people in timeout and put those aside, or as you said, cut them, and surround yourself around the people doing what you want, the millionaires. If you want to be a millionaire, like you said, just surround yourself around millionaires. Find where they are, find out where they hang out, go there and serve them. And then things in your life will change fast. I mean,
Yeah.
really fast. Inside of sometimes a couple months, 6
Oh yeah.
months. I mean, what if your whole life turned around in a year? If, like, where you were at, you were down that path, in all sorts of trouble. In 1 year, your life can turn around just with who you surround yourself with. So I'm getting way off topic, but I just feel like that mindset stuff, and in the beginning, it's so difficult to realize that you're going to have to make those decisions. But the other decisions you're going to have to make is all about money. So let's dive into your humble beginnings when you first got into real estate. Let's talk about your first couple deals, what that was like, where the money actually came from, and how that all worked.
Yeah. So, it's one of those things where for those that haven't done a deal yet, right? Or maybe we're going to talk about a deal that you haven't done yet. Maybe you've got a couple deals under your belt and you've done a wholesale, or maybe you've done a wholesale, but you haven't done a flip, or you've done a flip, but you haven't done a buy and hold BRRRR, right? Or whatever it may be. It's one of those things where it seems so overwhelming, so complicated until you go through it and you're like, okay, well, it wasn't that bad, right? It wasn't that scary. And it's kind of like the first time you ride a bike and you start to, get some momentum behind what you're doing, and you realize, okay, like just a few little tweaks, a few little things differently, and, I'm going to be smooth sailing moving forward. And I remember it was so daunting to me seeing all of these people who were investing and having success and were doing all the things that I wanted to do. And yet I couldn't figure out how to do it for myself. And it was about the first 8 or 9 months that, I was essentially trying to do it all on my own. Right. And, thinking that if I read books, or if I go sit in a seminar, or, I watch this YouTube video, that I'm going to have the chip that I can implant in my brain, and all of a sudden it's going to make me successful. Right. And it wasn't until I really actually found a mentor, and I was getting ready I was waving the white flag. I was ready to ring the bell. I was ready to quit and go find a safe job, that when I checked my ego at the door, and then I kind of swallowed my pride a little bit and said, you know what, the one thing I need to realize and understand and know is that I don't know shit. Right. And if I can go out and seek somebody and model after them and their success, and modify it to my own journey and where I'm at currently right now, I will give myself a much better opportunity at succeeding long-term. Because this is the one thing that I see a lot of real estate investors, new real estate investors, make the mistake on, is they want to, one, they think they know more than they know. Two, they don't want to cut somebody else in on the opportunity with them to get the education, to get the resources, to get the network, to get the wisdom and experience and the safety net that potential partner or mentor or coach could provide them because of the greed, right? It's like, I can figure this out. I just want to make the money. And if this is something that you're really considering doing, the best safety net that you can give yourself and accelerant to getting the results that you want and the education and the wisdom and the resources that you desire and will make you successful long-term is to potentially partner with somebody or to hire a coach or to hire a mentor that can shorten that learning curve, that can help you avoid those mistakes, that can give you those tools and resources and strategies that you might be missing, right? To fill in those blind spots. And so when I did that, it led me to finding my very first deal. And my very first deal, I ended up netting as a 21-year-old, a six-figure profit on the deal, pure net after paying everybody out. And I funded the deal using none of my own money. I was still living at home with my dad. I had all kinds of credit card debt. It's that, that cliched story, living at home with my parents in the basement. I had no money and I had to beg, borrow, and steal to find it. And that's if you ask most successful entrepreneurs, I've heard your story, right? It is that, right? Nobody just gets dropped on the summit of success and is like, oh, I had, 500,000 in my bank that I was ready to, wire over to escrow. And I had this great team around me that, basically did everything for me. And I got to sit on the beach and chill. And I knew everything that I was supposed to do. So I avoided every mistake. It just doesn't work that way, right? So there was a lot of failing forward, but by having that mentor, I had the ability to, one, find the deals a little bit more easily than I had made it out to be. I had, through that mentor, the ability to get kind of the coaching and the consulting of, hey, here's how you can structure this deal to where you don't have to partner with somebody and you can fund it using 100% of other people's money and keep all the profit for yourself. Hey, here is a great process that you can follow to rehab this property and barely step foot on site if you don't want to. And so that very first deal, with a lot of failing forward, I found the cat lady house. It was the cat lady house. We ended up finding 6 dead cats and a dead raccoon in the home after we removed all the trash and all of the hoarding that she had. But it was a win-win. She was so ecstatic. Her family was so ecstatic that we bought the house for $75,000, put about $40,000 into it, sold it for $225,000 and netted over a 6-figure profit on that first deal as a 21-year-old. And I remember walking away from the closing table going, if I can find great deals and I understand how to fund them using other people's money, I can do this over and over and over again to not only generate big profits like this, but I can use the same strategy to start adding properties to my portfolio that bring in cash flow every month and increase my net worth and help me build wealth and unlock this life of financial freedom, right? And so I just need to figure out how to build this system to get it rinse and repeat over and over and over again. Because once you get that system built, it then becomes what strategy makes the most sense here and is most aligned with the goals and the lifestyle and the freedom that I'm trying to build. And then you apply that strategy based on whatever the circumstances of that particular lead. So
Matt, one thing real quick, I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no, please do.
We certainly live in a very weird time, an information world where we pretty much think we know everything, and we certainly know the price of everything, but we don't know the value of anything anymore. And knowledge is everywhere. I mean, we all know you can pretty much learn how to do just about everything that we do day in and day out, and you can do it for free, whether it be great or bigger pockets or, Googling it or YouTube. I mean, it's all there for free. But if it's all free, why is everybody not successful in real estate? Why is everybody not out there using other people's money? And why do so many people have to kind of lose money or make huge mistakes and then take 4 steps backwards, hire the mentor that they should have done from day one like you did to learn exactly how it goes? So with that, the one thing I wanted to just stop before we go into strategy too much, let's go back to your first deal or 2 deals. You used other people's money. How did you find that money and where was it and what was that experience like?
Yeah, it was quite a journey trying to get a lot of no's. There was, I think it was the 22nd or 3rd no that I ended up getting my down payment money for. It was the down payment money and basically the holding cost money that was going to be my second position loan that I was going to use that money to pay the first position hard money lender who was funding 90% of the purchase price and 100% of the construction costs. So I had that portion, most of the deal covered, right? They liked the deal. They underwrote it. They said, you know what, this looks like a great opportunity. We think you're going to do well here. We'll fund 90% of the purchase price and 100% of the construction. Awesome, right? But then I still had the down payment costs, and I still had the holding costs of being able to pay the mortgage lender the payment on the first loan every single month, in addition to all the other stuff that I was going to need to kind of upkeep the property with the utilities staying on and insurance payments and all that kind of stuff, right? And of course, I had maxed out credit cards, only a couple $100 in my savings account, so the money wasn't coming for me. So I had to go find where I was going to get that money from and offer somebody terms basically the points and the interest and the structuring of how long, I was going to be holding their money in order for them to feel comfortable giving that to me. And I went to, there's basically, 3 places that I always tell people to look. And if you're going, man, I don't think I can find money to fund my deals. I'm here to tell you that, somebody with money who would be interested in investing like these kind of deals, or somebody who knows somebody who would be interested in investing in these kind of deals. And so the 3 places that I always look is, 1, your inner circle, like and trust you intimately. This is family, this is friends, this is, people you've known forever, right? These are like your inner circle peeps. Then you have what I call your outer circle, which is people that you consistently kind of brush shoulders with on a daily basis, right? And these are people maybe that you work with, maybe that you do business with, right? And then there's your social circle, which is like, your kids, soccer coach, or people that you meet at church, or individuals that you are in a Facebook group with, right? So there are individuals all around you, right? That if you present these kind of opportunities in the right way and you answer their questions in regards to why it's a great investment and how you're protecting them and how you're hedging their risk, right? To get the terms that most real estate investors offer, they can't find it in a 401k or an IRA, right? Or the stock market or a bond or a CD, right? So when you start talking these kind of terms and you educate them on how it's done and why it's a great investment for them, I have more people that want to give me money now than I can deploy at the moment. So I ended up finding this individual in my inner circle, and I offered them 10% interest on their money while I held it. I gave them, I think, 3 points in the beginning, just because I wanted to get the deal done. I mean, we're talking a 6-figure potential profit here that if I don't find out how to get that money, right, I am going to lose out on that opportunity. So I gave them 3 points. They covered the remainder of the down payment that the first hard money lender wasn't covering, plus some extra money, about 6 months of holding costs that basically I was able to impound in my account and pay off the lender every month and pay bills and things like that, right? And after I flipped it, the first position hard money lender got their 90% back and their construction costs, right, and whatever interest they accrued in the meantime, as well as the second position down payment lender ended up getting his 10% plus his points. Everybody was happy. And then guess what call I got, a week later? Hey, when's the next one?
Yeah. Where's the next deal? I need to get this money to work again.
Absolutely. Yep. So it's one of those things where when you do right and you do right by your investors, you deliver on the return that you said you're going to promise, right? And you start building that reputation over time and you're really finding great opportunities. I always tell people, like, you're holding the gold in your hand, right? And if they want to mine a little piece of that gold with you, then, there's a price to get in on that opportunity. And it's something that everybody can win at. And it's something that as people start winning, they want to do it over and over and over again, because finding this kind of gold with those kind of returns for that little effort is really hard to do, right? So when people wrap their head around the mindset that money is all around me and it becomes an abundance thing instead of I don't have that kind of money or that's not possible for me, if you change the question to say, how can I get this done? Or who do I know that can help me get this done? That's where the opportunities and the abundance approach becomes endless, right? It's limitless when you change the question and the frame that you're looking at the challenge through. And so when I did that, I went from being, I'm a broke college student living at home with never with no experience whatsoever in buying or selling a property in my life, to going, who do I know that would be interested in making this kind of return in this kind of safe investment vehicle? And when I changed that question and started asking that more openly to people, it was like, oh, you need to talk to this person. Oh, let me talk about, oh, you know what? I might be interested in that, right? And so it opened the door. And that mindset shift right there was a big game changer for me, because I was really, really, really in my head going, I don't know how I'm going to fund this deal. Like, there's no way anybody's going to lend to me. You don't need the credit. You don't need to have the money yourself. You just need to have the right opportunity. And of course, the right delivery and how you educate and offer that opportunity to people.
That's huge too. I mean, you dropped a ton of golden nuggets right there. And I was just like, yep, check that off, check that off. But I mean, the other thing too is when people are first starting in this, obviously money's always that big barrier, that giant mountain in front of you that you look at and you're like, I need money before I can get the deal. But what they need to realize is you need the deal before you can get the money. You got to commit to getting the deal. Then you got to structure the deal so that you can explain that opportunity to somebody. And then you went the hard money route, which I'm going to cover that in a second, but you also went to a private investor. And everybody thinks, oh, I got to find a private investor. That must be that guy driving the Ferrari or the guy with that nice Mercedes. No. Chances are it's probably your neighbor who's driving an F-150 that has all the money you'll ever need and that needs you and your deal to help them. So it's always, you're not just helping yourself by showing somebody the opportunity that you have with your real estate deal. You're helping them, just like your guy. I mean, once you were done with that deal, he's like, a week later, hey, where's the next deal? Because you helped him so much. Him, right? It was him. I want to make sure I get that right. You helped him so much that he was coming back saying, I need your help again. Instead of you saying, hey, I need your help, and here's another opportunity, he's coming to you. And you know what? That happens not just once, not just twice. I mean, you've done hundreds of deals, so have I. That happens hundreds of times. And every time you pay somebody back, they're always going to ask you if you live up to your obligations. And the hard money lenders, for a lot of new investors, that's your path of least resistance. Mm-hmm. They don't really care so much about your credit. They care about the deal. They care about your income paying ability. So you need to be able to pay the interest. But hard money lenders are everywhere. Just Google hard money lenders. They're everywhere. And it's so easy to get money for your deal. So that's the biggest thing, like this podcast and talking to people like yourself. It's just so important that people change their mindset to realize that it's not about their resources. It's about how resourceful they can be. And getting resourceful in today's world is so much easier. You just Google hard money lenders. You just go talk to your neighbor and tell them about the opportunity. Just like you said, I loved it. You're literally nailing all these. So now on that exact note, so you figured money out. What other internal obstacles did you have to overcome as you started doing more and more deals? What were some of the other ones besides money you had to overcome?
Yeah, well, you know, as a 21, 22-year-old, right, some of the biggest challenges that I faced moving forward was, one, leading not only myself, but leading a team and leading other people, right? And they say, oh, no one succeeds alone. And just know that for anybody listening right now, I coach, mentor, and work and have seen a lot of successful solo people making 250, 350, 400K a year running solo, right? So don't think that you need to have some big, massive team to be a successful real estate investor, right? You may not be able to scale as easy and cover as much ground in a short amount of time. But if that's your model, right, and you want to just be the solo, you know, real estate rock star, hey, more power to you, right? I knew that I wanted to cover more ground, and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do that by myself. And therefore, two ways that you scale a business, right, is through people and through systems. And I've always been one of those individuals. One of my early assistants, she said this to me. She goes, you know, you're constantly throwing bowling balls over your shoulder and expecting me to catch them, when I wish you would just figure out how to hand off the baton so I could win the race with you. And that's, as an entrepreneur, right? For many of us, we're all over the place, whether it's shiny object syndrome and a new idea or a new meeting or a new opportunity or a new this or a new that. We're all over the place. And so the things that I really needed to figure out was, one, what is the direction and the path, right? Instead of going a mile wide and an inch deep, which can be very easy in real estate because there are many different ways that you can make money and succeed in real estate, I needed to figure out how to go a mile deep and an inch wide and build out systems and team and infrastructure and people, right? So I could eventually continue to fire myself out of every single one of those roles and wearing every one of those hats that most business owners wear forever. I didn't want to own a job for the rest of my life, and I wanted to be able to scale, right? And so the way I found opportunities to do that was to figure out how to build systems for the things that I was doing. If you're a solo entrepreneur right now or a solo real estate investor right now, and you're going, man, that's me. I don't want to wear the hats for the rest of my life. One question I invite you to ask yourself at the end of every day is, what did I do today that I don't want to do tomorrow that is not documented, right? Because then you can start creating systems that eventually, whether it's tomorrow or the next day or a week or a year or whatever, right, there's going to be some kind of standard or process or procedure that someone else can follow to get similar results to you. And by freeing up that time and you going and focusing on bigger things of scaling the company, hiring and attracting more talent into your company, right? You know that those processes and procedures are at least going to be followed, right? So the hardest part was just going, man, I wish I had something where I could download a chip into my brain and be like, okay, I'm a great business owner now. And I know how to, manage cash flow projections and to manage people and to lead people and to be able to read P&Ls and balance sheets and all of those things, right? You just don't know what you don't know until you get in the trenches and go, man, I don't know a lot. And the way that you do that is just continuing to fail forward. But I think the most important piece of what I'm sharing right now is if I didn't get clarity in the direction that I wanted to go in, and mind you, there was a good season of time that I was not clear. I was mistaking movement for achievement, and I felt like I was so busy, but it was like I was running in quicksand. I just wasn't covering any ground. I was consistently banging my head against the ceiling. And when I got clear on, hey, flipping is my model, and I'm going to master flipping, right? Then I built a team and a system and a procedure and a process and infrastructure around that, which ultimately allowed me to start spending less and less and less and less time in that business. And then it was, okay, how do I build out my rental portfolio and start bringing in cash flow and managing our assets and optimizing our assets and doing all those things? How do I plug in the construction company that I'm a partner in and start building that into our ecosystem? And so the biggest challenge, right, was if you're not clear on what you're looking to execute on, right, you're going to, what I call, have a lot of dirty yeses in your life or your calendar. And ultimately that's saying yes to a lot of things that aren't in alignment or congruent to the things that are most impactful to you achieving the goals that you want to achieve in that business or with your income or with, right, the specific model that you're looking to develop and master. So clarity is a really big piece that I would invite everybody to try and get more in. And it's one of those things where clarity comes from action too, right? So you got to make sure you keep consistently taking action on things and keep revisiting those things. So that way you can take, a 5-lane freeway and get it down into the fast lane where you're rocking and rolling and jetting down the freeway. But clarity was a big piece, and just consistently pouring into myself. I've always believed that your business, your life, your income, your relationships, whatever it may be, will only grow to the extent that you do. And that's big in the personal development world, that I know a lot of people that are listening to your show right now are investing in themselves, right? So the more I continuously invested in myself by listening to podcasts, going to masterminds, going to events, having paid coaches, having mentors, having individuals like that in my life, it allowed me to fail a little bit faster, get feedback a little bit faster, course correct a little bit faster, and keep optimizing my results over time and improving. But there is no, blueprint for being successful as a real estate entrepreneur, as you know, right? And
Absolutely.
While I feel like I've mastered, a lot of areas of flipping, now I'm buying commercial properties, and I feel like I'm a complete newbie in that space all over again. And it's fun and it's humbling. But if you can consistently remind yourself that you don't know anything, that there's somebody else out there that has the results that you want, the education that you want, the support, the community, the resources, the strategies, whatever it may be that you want, and surround yourself with those people and plug into those people and take massive action on that stuff every single day, you're over time going to start connecting the dots to finding the best path to getting to where you want to go.
That's good stuff. And one of the things too, I know our audience and just about everybody that enters this has that shiny object syndrome. I know I had it. There's so many unbelievable ways to make money in real estate that you're like, ooh, piece of candy, ooh, piece of candy, ooh, piece of candy. And all of a sudden you've got all these pieces of candy and you're going 1,000 different directions and you're never, ever really getting any traction in anything. And not only that, I think right now, more than any other time that I've been involved in real estate, I don't know about yourself, but there's some changes going on. There's a storm coming, that's for sure.
Big
And that
time.
storm is going to change a lot of things. So I think it's important now. Let's go back to what you were talking about with strategy and these shiny objects that everybody keeps picking up and grabbing. There's always a right time to use one of those little shiny objects. And right now, there is definitely a right time to use specific strategies. And I know it just in our short conversation before we started this, we talked a little bit about kind of the changes in both of our businesses.
Yep.
And your business is specifically changing because we were big flippers. I know you did hundreds of properties. We did hundreds of flips, and it was great. But that great sometimes dissipates. So now, today, what is your shiny object? What is your direction, your strategy you're using? And how are you specifically using money to drive that strategy?
Yeah. So, if you don't adopt, you die, right? Because at the end of the day, what won yesterday's game isn't what wins today's game. And so right now, for example, with the market the way it is, if you're listening to this, now or in the future, right, the market is, at least what we know today, is it's at the peak of the market. It may go up a little bit higher, maybe it drops, who knows, but right now we're at the peak of the market. So we have low unemployment. Everybody's got cash in the bank, right? They're pulling out HELOCs, and we're seeing some loose spending again. And at the end of the day, hardship is low. And for real estate investors, we like to buy assets that have some kind of either physical hardship to them, or the situation is in a hardship and we can provide a service or offer, right, through whatever we offer, something of value in exchange for getting it at a price that makes sense for us. But right now it's, people are overpaying for opportunities, and they are, essentially there's more people fishing. They're on the banks of the fishing pond, fishing for the same fish, using the same tackle, same bait, same everything. And therefore competition is high. So how do we adapt, right? You got to be able to adapt and still keep your business growing and thriving, even though maybe the market changes a little bit. So I was racking my brain, 12 months ago going, dang, I'm not going to do anywhere close to the amount of flips that I did last year and what I want to do this year. And yet we have to figure out how to get in front of this, right? And we have to figure out how to continue to drive revenue into the company and realize that, maybe the model that worked yesterday isn't going to be the model that works today. So right now what we're doing is there are a lot of people who are very optimistic on the values of real estate still, and the fact that it's going to continue going up. There are a lot of people who are optimistic on the fact that they can get a rehab project done a lot cheaper than we think it can get done, right? So there are areas of margin that you can make up on people's optimism, which is a great model for wholesaling. So any of the properties that don't have a nice big chunk of meat on the bone that we want to take down for a flip, we will now wholesale and take maybe, a third or half of what we could make, but be in and out, limit our risk, right? So wholesaling and wholesaling are great kind of strategies to use right now, which wholesaling obviously doesn't require you to close on the property and doesn't require any cash at all. Wholesaling, obviously, you're going to take it down, you're going to put it on the MLS, and you're going to let other people come in and bid on it. So you do need to have that cash, which I'm still using, my private money lenders or hard money lenders to be able to facilitate, basically 100% financing on all those deals. But then there's the third piece of this is I always look at, and I see a lot of people, and it depends on where you're at in your business and in your life, right? If you got, no money in the bank and you're looking at a 6-figure profit on a deal, that might be something that you want to close on, you want to take through the process, and you want to get that 100K in your pocket, right? But let's say that maybe you got 500,000 in the bank and you come across a deal that might be able to put 100K in your pocket, or it adds 2,500 a month to your passive income, and you still have that 100K in equity sitting on top of the property in your balance sheet at the end of the day, right? I'm starting to now look and approach more of these strategies of it's great to flip and wholesale and get some cash coming into the business. But if we're talking about freedom, if we're talking about lifestyle, right, we want that mailbox money. We want passive income. And so any property that you bring in that is a lead, I would highly recommend looking at it and going, is this a wholesale? Is this a wholesale? Is this a flip? Or is this something that I can hold on to and potentially, right, get an asset into my portfolio like I've done many times using none of my own money, renovating them, right? Renting them back up for max rent that we can possibly get, right? Highest and best use of the building, optimizing the asset from a cash flow perspective, a condition perspective, an operations perspective, and then go back to refinance lender and see if we can refinance the property and get all of our initial investors cash out, right? And maybe even some cash on top of that, which I've done on a handful of my rental properties. And then I end up owning an asset using none of my own money. Maybe I got paid to buy the asset because I actually got some cash out of it. And on top of the new payment or the new loan that I just put in place, whatever that payment is, I know that I'm going to be cash flowing it every single month, therefore bringing in passive income, which is adding to my ability to become financially free, right? And the goal that I always tell people to strive for is to be 100%er. You should want to be 100%er, and 100%er is when 100% of your passive income covers 100% of your living expenses. And that's, health insurance, car payment, house payment, dates with the wife or the husband, kids' school, laundry, detergent, groceries, like whatever it is, right? Phone bill, your all in monthly expenses to live the life that you want to live. If you can get your passive income to cover 100% of that, what are you? You're financially free. Like, you have no worries in the world. Now you're just doing whatever the hell you truly want to do in life because your passive income is covering 100% of your living expenses. And so that's where I started going, you know what? It's great to have these 6-figure checks coming in, but the quicker I can get to 5K or to 10K or to 20K or to 50K or 100K passive income a month, man, that's ultimate freedom. That's where life gets really, really exciting and really fun, and where I can start donating to charities and causes I'm passionate about, that I can start saving money for my kids, college or future business they want to start. So I can start funding the trips and the lifestyle that my wife and I want, that I can start, empowering bigger opportunities in our business to make an impact on my employees or my community or whatever. Right. And so that's where I started looking at going, it's great to be flipping houses, but to diversify or to add another leg to this model is, how do we now start using other people's money to buy assets that pay me income, that bring in an income stream every single month? And if I can figure out that model, right, whether it's BRRRR or whether it's joint venturing with somebody or whatever it may be, if I can figure out that model and rinse and repeat that over and over and over and over again, that is a beautiful model to add into what you're already making the efforts to generate the leads. Now you just need to lay over a template and go, does this template make the most sense? Does this template make the most sense? Does this template make the most sense? Right. And anytime I can find a property where the cash flow template makes sense, no matter how much money it's going to make me, if I were to flip it or wholesale it, I want to keep that because I'm playing a long-term game. And if you're in real estate, your goal should be, whether you're 70 years old or you're 20 years old, the goal should be a long-term mindset. Because if you're coming in here for the quick hit, the get quick rich, the quick injection of dopamine and the excitement of it, you're not going to succeed. And you might get the one low-hanging fruit, but it's not going to be a sustainable business model over time. So I call it the crock pot mentality versus the microwave mindset. Like, the crock pot makes the much better, tastier dish, but it takes a little bit longer. The microwave, yeah, you get that quick fix, but man, like, it's nowhere close to the crock pot dish. So coming into it with that mentality of going, I'm here to build wealth and get income streams and build passive income that ultimately allows me to unlock the lifestyle, the freedom, the income, the options that I desire in my life. And I know real estate investing can do for me. The quicker you can get there, the better.
Yeah. And I'm going to add one thing to that. The other nice thing about the passive income model, the making money while you sleep model, is even if you still want to flip or you still want to kind of get into your own deals, when you've got a base of rental properties, providing that 100%er, okay, that money that supplies you enough to live, what that also does is it will support your flip carry costs. So if you've got a rental portfolio over here producing cash flow and you've got a flip portfolio over here, make sure your rentals are supporting your flip carry costs. You'll sleep better at night, I promise. One of the worst things I went through as a big time flipper is cash flow. I always was just burning cash. I felt like I literally had a fire going on out back, just burning all the money that came in, because that's what flipping does. It just sucks cash from you. It's like a vacuum cleaner. But when you've got your rental portfolio, your BRRRRs, your passive income strategy producing money every month, that money can just be shifted over here to pay for those flips, to carry those flips. And then when you sell those flips, that money you make, that profit, is so much tastier and so much easier to digest because it's yours.
Yeah.
This supported that. That's so important, because if somebody just gets into flipping, and I know the TV shows, including ours, kind of paints this beautiful picture, but most people, that if they only get into that one strategy of flipping, they're going to flip themselves right to bankruptcy or right out of the business. It's going to happen because it's just transactional. And as soon as one thing shifts, you're done. So I love that you brought that up, that your business is transformed. And now all of a sudden your business is doing a lot more with the passive income, trying to make that 100%er and making sure that that works. That's so vital for our audience to hear that, because they can't just go one direction. I mean, I understand going deep, but go deep in multiple. Make sure you got one transactional and one passive strategy going on.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, the one last point to add to that, because you reminded me, like when you were saying like, man, I was stressed out on this. There are so many points where, you know, you feel like you're doing the wrong thing, or you feel like you're going to go under, or you feel like you're going to make that big mistake that's going to cripple you. And that's honestly the journey of real estate investing.
Amen. Amen.
Right? Like if you don't, you know, one of my mentors, we were in a conversation, and this guy, he's worth about $250 million. And he started flipping houses. Now he owns all kind of commercial real estate and golf courses and all kinds of insane stuff. And one guy was in the crowd, and he's like, he asked basically a question on, you know, he went on to basically say that he'd never lost money, and he'd done a couple hundred deals and this and that. And basically my mentor said, you've either one, not done enough deals, or two, you've never stretched yourself and your goals are way too small. And it's one of those things where if you're constantly in a state of expansion and you're trying to grow and get better, you're gonna have the breakdowns in your business. And that's the only way to figure out how to plug those gaps and those holes, right? But the fact that you said that, I mean, I've had many sleepless nights. And as you stretch yourself and go into uncharted territory, right, just make sure that if you're gonna go into uncharted waters, the areas that I've made the mistakes is me thinking that I knew it all, when I could have, you know, consulted with somebody or hired a coach and somebody who's already charted those waters and helped me make sure I didn't make those mistakes that I didn't have to make if I wouldn't have let my pride or my ego get in the way. So just a great reminder there, because there's been many sleepless nights, and I'm sure there's going to be more. If you're constantly looking to strive and achieve big things that you've never done before, you better believe that you're going to have the breakdowns and the doubts, right? And if you can just surround yourself with the right people on the journey as you have those moments, they will help you course correct and get through those muddy waters.
I know we're going a little long, but I got to ask one more question. Through your entire journey, everything you've gone through, we've kind of heard a lot about how your business is transformed and how your models and strategies have transformed. But I got one last question. How have you as a person transformed?
Oh man. I mean, at the end of the day, it's night and day. I mean, and I make it a goal that every 12 months that I look back and remember the person I was at the beginning of the year and the person I am now. And I want those individuals to be unrecognizable. And that's just from putting myself in constant situations of growth and that uncomfortableness. Right. And it's like, I think of how many uncomfortable situations I've put myself in over the years of being a real estate investor. Those were the situations that led to the breakthroughs that I was looking to have. And, you know, changing the conversation I have with fear in my mind is, you know, the butterflies never really go away. The fear never really goes away. You just get better at getting the butterflies to fly in formation, right? You get better at how you engage those moments that you're scared in. And I've just learned to trust in not only the person that I am and the hurdles that I've overcome and the challenges that I've, you know, conquered, but I've also learned to trust other people and the individuals I've surrounded myself with and known that I've put in that work. And when you put in that time, when you put in the work and you know everything that went into that, you give yourself a lot more permission and you give other people permission to trust at a much higher level. And that's been a big thing that has allowed me to scale beyond what I could do all by myself, right? Like, you're not scalable. I'm not scalable. At the end of the day, no human being is scalable. We only have 24 hours in a day, and we can only do so much in that amount of time, right? So by scaling through people and systems, that took a lot of work and a lot of effort. And I know that I'm just getting started, man. I mean, I just turned 30 this year. I've been doing it for about 10 years, and I plan on doing this for the next 50, 60, 70 years until I can no longer hold a pen and sign a contract. That's when I'll stop investing in real estate. But I just know what this vehicle, like for me, people goes, real estate investing, your passion, do you love it so much? And I go, no. Like, if you want the truth, like, I love what the vehicle does for me, and I love what the vehicle has done for other people. Like,
passion without a purpose is not passion at all. I just heard that. Had to come out with that.
Yeah, no, and I love that, right? Because at the end of the day, like, do I love real estate? Yeah, I love real estate. But am I like so fired up to underwrite deals every day? No, I'm really not. I do it because of what it does for me when I get the result that real estate provides for me, right? I get to be on here and give one nugget or one tool or one strategy or one resource that may put someone on a path that has them unlocking the freedom and the financial stability and the mental security and whatever it may be for them that takes their life to another level. Maybe that freedom that it gives them allows them to go have a cause that cures breast cancer. I don't know, right? But what I'm saying is I love real estate because of the vehicle that it is and what it enables people to do. But I don't love real estate because I love seeing someone hang up, sheets of drywall and tape and texture it and the color that it turns out to be. Like, that doesn't get me fired up. But that's where I think that if people can understand the power of this vehicle and understand that because it's been around for centuries, right? And there is a process to it. It's not like every individual is doing some like special sauce that's different. It really isn't. And it is a process that, when done properly, and you have the right people around you and you have the right mindset and approach to doing it consistently, time on task, over and over and over again, you're going to hone your craft and you're going to hone your strategy that works best for you, that unlocks a result for you, that you figure out, hey, I can scale this. And then you can start seeing, right, the kind of the vision expand a little bit more, and you see how you can leverage this at a much higher level to then take it to the 6 and the 7 and the 8-figure income levels that many people that are not rocket scientists get to enjoy. It's just because they find the path, they find the strategy, and they consistently, time on task, execute it on every single day.
Absolutely. Well, Matt, this has been fantastic. And I know our audience is going to walk away from this motivated. They're going to walk away with some serious golden nuggets and some great information that they can go apply immediately. So one of the things, if people want to get a hold of you, how do they reach out to you? Where do they find you?
I'm all over social media. So my handle on all my platforms is official Matty A, official Mattya. And they can go to mattaitchison.com. That's Matt, AITCHISON.com, where we got all kinds of information as well.
All right. Well, that's good knowledge. So if any of you have any more information, make sure you seek Matt out. He's just a wealth of knowledge. And I don't know if you all caught that. He's 30 years old. So go get him and seek him out. And also, I know I'm walking away from this thing motivated, and it's always good to talk to somebody that's doing the same thing and solidify that the decisions you're making are the right ones. And that's what happens when you change your mindset and you surround yourself with people that think like you do and that are doing the things you want. So for all of you, I hope you're as motivated as I am. And thank you all for joining us for the Real Estate Money School. And don't forget, for you guys all to get started on your journey to becoming a rebel banker, make sure you check out the Private Money Guide, and also check us out on Facebook or at chrisnaugle.com. That's CHRISNAUGLE for all future events, and stay tuned for the next one. Matt, thank you so very much for your time. This was awesome.
It's an honor, brother.